Have you ever had that one muscle group? Maybe it's legs, maybe it's your shoulders. Typically, it's not one of the big ones like chest or biceps. It's usually one of the, I don't really want to say supporting because I feel like everything supports each other, but you know what I mean. One of the lesser worked out muscle groups. And maybe you're trying to develop more mass in that area and you're struggling. It's just you work it out every week, but it's just not happening. How do you really target that area and really get the gains you want for that muscle group? Well, that's what we're talking about in today's episode. So strap in and get ready for episode 052. Let's go.
I've always been that skinny guy.
Why can't I gain muscle mass?
What do I do in the gym?
They said I'd always be skinny.
This is your complete source for how to gain lean muscle and break out of your skinny body. From nutrition to getting the most out of your workouts and everything in between. We know just how frustrating gaining muscle mass can be, but don't worry, we've got you covered. You're listening to the Bones to Bulk podcast. Hello, welcome to today's episode. My name is Brian Parody, and I will be your host today. And before we jump into today's content, I just want to mention something that if you haven't done, you really need to check out. Basically, what I've done is I've put together a mini course for you that covers everything from what you really need to know to start building muscle, the basics of food and how our food is broken down, along with common pitfalls that it's good to avoid. And I've compiled all this in easy to read, super simple. Just head on over to bonestobulk.com. You'll see it right there on the homepage. Put in your email address. It will be delivered to your inbox. How easy is that? So if you haven't done that, please go do that right now. Unless you're driving, don't, cause an accident because you're trying to put an email in your phone. But when you have a free second, do that. I promise it's great information. You won't be sorry you did. With that being said, let's dive into today's episode. So let's face it, we all at times have that one muscle group that is difficult to really develop. Regardless of how hard you work out, genetics does play a little bit of a role in how big your muscles get and also in what muscles grow the easiest. For instance, talk to anybody in the gym and they're going to have a strength, something that they're better at than other exercises. For some people, maybe they can deadlift an insane amount. For some people, maybe it's the squats. Some people, maybe it's the bench press. And yes, to a degree, it does play a factor of how much they work that out. But on the other hand, it does play an effect of how our bodies are wired. So can you fight genetics? Of course. Anything can be overcome in my mind. I believe that. I truly believe that any single thing you set your mind to, you can overcome. Because think of all the tons of things in history and even modern day that was said to be impossible. Oh, we can't do that. Oh, we can't. And what? People are proven wrong all the time. Think about just running. It used to be thought that it was humanly impossible to run a sub 4-minute mile. And guess what? Somebody did it. So anything is possible if you set your mind to it. But there's some easy ways to do this. So I'm going to use an example. You've probably seen people in the gym whose calves are just like solid. Like, dang, your calves look good. And I just don't have that. That doesn't come naturally for me. And so I've got to work that area out extra hard. So what I do and what I recommend you doing for those muscle groups that you struggle with is stick with your normal routine. So in other words, I'm assuming and I'm hoping that you're breaking up your muscle groups into different days. So we're going to assume that. So let's say on Monday you do back and biceps. Well, guess what? If you want to develop your calves more, at the end of that workout, go and do 2 exercises that target your calves. On day 2, if you're doing shoulders, go do 2 exercises that target your calves. On day 3, even if it's leg day and your calf exercises are thrown in on that day, guess what? Do 2 additional extra calf exercises or double up your exercises on that muscle that day. The reason this is so important is because, think about it, there's 2 things at play here. You've got to push those muscles harder than your other muscles because obviously you're struggling with those muscles. So they've got to have a little extra push. Now, you're not doing a whole day's worth of workout on those muscles. So before you say, well, it's not good to work out muscles every day, you're right. It's not if you're doing a full-blown hardcore workout in that muscle group. You don't need to go back in and do the same thing the next day. But when you only do 2 exercises, you're not putting those muscles under that crazy amount of stress to where you can't work it out the next day. You can. So suck it up, Buttercup. It's going to suck for the first week, and that muscle group is going to be sore. It just is. But push through the pain and do it, because I promise you, if you keep at this, after 3 to 6 months, you are going to see a change. Take a before picture if you don't believe me. Take another picture at 3 months and then another one at 6 months and see if you don't see results. Because it's just the way things work. And this is true in any situation. You know, if you're trying to gain weight and you don't want to go crazy, just adding in 100 extra calories a day is going to make a difference. It's going to take a lot longer. It's going to be like a while before you start seeing results. But eventually it will happen. And this is what is referred to as the compound effect. If you've never read the book by Darren Hardy, oh my gosh, life-changing book. I highly suggest you go out and get it. And I've got the link to it, again, on my website, bonestobulk.com. Click on the gear, and it's under there. You can find it. And it's an amazing book that teaches the concept of how huge small things that we do every day turn out to be. Because, you know, when we do something small every day, we don't see an immediate result. We don't think that it's going to have an effect. But when that's measured over weeks and months and years, the effect is incredible, absolutely incredible. And so again, if you haven't ever read that book, I highly suggest you pick it up. But that's basically the concept here with the muscles. You're working out those muscles so much that eventually you're going to see results. And it's not because you're doing some crazy, insane workout with them. You're only doing 2 exercises, taking extra, 5-7 minutes at the most. But that 5 and 7 minutes compounded is going to turn into hours and hours of work that you've invested in that muscle group, and it's going to show. It's going to. Don't ever think that something small you're doing in the gym doesn't matter. There's no such thing as a small thing doesn't matter. Everything you do matters when you do it on a day-to-day basis. And this goes for negative things too. You know, if you're trying to cut down your body fat percentage and you're still consuming, let's say you're putting butter on your toast every morning, okay? Nothing wrong with butter, a little bit of butter. I'm not saying that, nothing against butter. But if you're really let's say you're just trying to get your body fat percentage down to an insane level, just cutting out a half a tablespoon of butter a day, compounded over a year, do you know how many calories that is? It's a ton. It's a butt ton. Like, small things add up. And we miss so many important things because we think that they don't. We think, oh, it's only this one frilly drink from Starbucks. It's only this candy bar. It's only this one soda. But what you don't realize is how many of its onlys are there in your life. And those are all adding up. And they're either getting you to your goal or they're pushing you further and further away from your goal. And some people say, well, I want immediate results. I know, I get it. We live in this Insta world. Don't get me wrong, I love Instagram. If you're on Instagram, @BonesToBulk. But we live in this world that shows us, we're inundated with pictures and videos where, you know, get the body you want in 30 days and you'll become a beast in 10, like this bullshit. That's not going to happen. Nothing happens overnight. Nothing good happens overnight. Let me rephrase that. And so it's so important to not get sucked into that mindset or these. If I see one more video with somebody waving around money saying like, I made $1 million in 10 days and you can do too. Like, it's bull crap. You can't. I promise you, check that guy out in like 3 years and see if he's poor or what's going on, because that stuff isn't real. It's not building something solid. If there's something that sounds too good to be true, believe me, it is. There's not longevity in it usually. It's usually a fly-by-night thing where people make a quick buck really fast or have some good results really fast, and then they take a nosedive after that. How many people do you know, or maybe you yourself have done some type of diet, some type of workout routine and it goes great, and then you get off it, and guess what? You go back right to where you were. I know tons of people that this has happened to. The reason is because it's not building habits that you carry on day in and day out. It's just looking for a quick fix, and quick fixes are garbage. They're garbage. I'm sorry, I'm getting really passionate about this. I hate seeing this bullcrap that people preach that, it doesn't take work and it doesn't take time. It does. Like, that's part of it, and that's okay to embrace that and accept that. Like I said, nothing great in life comes easy. Think back about all the crappy times in your life. And I'm not saying overall, like, just some shit happens in life and it's not fun. But overall, like, I can look back at some times that during the time, I'm like, man, this is just, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be going through this. This is terrible. And then looking back, I'm like, wow, I really either grew or learned a lot from that, or it wasn't so bad. It's crazy how that works, right? It's because those times build us. They form our character. They chisel us. And so look at it the same way. It's not that, oh man, it's going to take me a year or 2 years or 5 years to get where I want to be with my body. No, it's, man, I get to go on this journey. I get to transform myself day in and day out, and I'm going to build something that sustains me for the rest of my life. And guess what? Sacrificing and busting your ass for a couple years for that, to develop those routines and that lifestyle that's going to sustain you through the rest of your life, is worth it, is it not? All right, man, I'm out of breath. I'm going so hard. All right, so I just want to encourage you, like, go after what you want. Don't overlook the small day-to-day things. That's the in a nutshell what I'm trying to preach today. So if there's that muscle group, work it out every day. I promise you, 6 months down the road, you're going to see results. It's not going to happen overnight. Don't take a picture on day 1 and on day 3 quit because you're not seeing any difference. It's not going to happen that quick. It takes time. With that being said, if you're on social media, please follow me at Bones to Bulk. We've got a great group over on Facebook, also on Instagram at Bones to Bulk. Again, like I said at the beginning, our free mini course that I put together, like, it's valuable information. Just go to bonestobulk.com, put in your email and sign up for that. It'll be worth your time, I promise you. With that being said, remember, no matter what anybody has told you, what walls you've hit, what garbage that people are trying to feed you, that you don't need to do this or do this, like, focus on what you know is true and go hard at that. You've got this.